Indiana soybean checkoff dollars support you with many, many, many tools to help you get the most out of your bean. Activate your membership at indianabeanbenefits.com.
Welcome to another Better Farming Report brought to you by the Indiana Soybean Checkoff and the Indiana Soybean Alliance. We are on location today at the Indiana-Illinois Farm Equipment Show at the State Fairgrounds in Indianapolis. We've just finished a seminar where we talked about the things that affect agriculture the most, the weather and the markets. And joining us on our Better Farming Report today, Ryan Martin, meteorologist for Hoosier today, and Dr. Chris Hurt from the Purdue Department of Agricultural Economics, and we're going to talk about those two unpredictable kind of things, the weather and the markets. Ryan, let's first of all talk about the weather. In your presentation, you basically said we're going to have a cold winter. It has been a cold farm show here, and this is just the beginning of what's going to be some pretty cold temperatures.
Yeah, I think so. What I think we've got going on here is a scenario where we basically have a December, January, February nasty period coming towards us. Temperatures below normal. My projections are about 20-30% below normal on temperatures. I think we do see an active winter, meaning a little bit more snow than normal. The better part of that coming here December, and then we're going to skip January. January is probably near normal, going to a very active February, seeing a lot of snow in February as well. To me, it looks like a very interesting winter setting up.
Now that gives us good soil moisture. It has cold temperatures, which will kill off the insects, but I think one of the things you talked about in your presentation that really got a lot of farmers' attention was the possibility of a very wet spring, and the possibility of planting delays. Talk us through what your models are showing you about the spring weather.
Well, I had come into this season thinking that we were going to be looking at a winter season that was very similar to 2014, and we may see that, but in 2014 we dried out in the spring. My models are showing me that this time around we could see a very wet March, April, and May period, meaning that we're going to be looking at above normal precipitation all of those months, which made me think that, hey, we ought to probably be planning toward taking advantage of any small window of opportunity that we have, being able to get into the fields. The temperatures may not be mad in that spring season, but moisture could be excessive.
Now the temperatures you mentioned right now, National Weather Service says we could be looking for some warmer temperatures. Some folks want to make that into a drought scenario for 2017, but you're not on board with that.
I'm not there yet. I'm not going to say 2017 is going to be all roses, far from it. I think we put together 3 very nice crop years here recently. I don't think we're going to be able to duplicate that yet again, but I'm also not in the catastrophe range either. I think we got weather coming this year that pulls us probably back closer to trend line yield. Okay weather, not the best weather, but okay weather.
Alrighty. Well, if we make the assumption that we will have some weather challenges, perhaps some planting challenges, and trend line yields, what does that mean for the markets? Dr. Hurt, we have had surplus, we have had big carryover numbers, we have had very low prices. So as we look to 2017, if indeed we begin to move back towards more trendline yields, what does that mean for our crop prices and crop production?
Well, actually, we're looking for a little bit of improvement in price for the 17 crop. And as we look at record yields on soybeans in 16, if you bring that back to trend, that's down about 9% from 16 crop. We're going to have, we think, around 4% more acreage on beans, but with less yield, you actually have a smaller crop, and we think we'll tighten up the carry out just a little bit and give you probably 40-50 cent higher prices on beans. And right now, I think we could see beans that would be in the $9.50+ range for the 17 crop, maybe out of the field. On the other hand, corn, we're going to have less acreage there, and a normal yield would bring yields down as well. So we think we'll cut carryouts at least 200 million bushels, and that gives us probably 30 cent higher corn prices for 17. So overall trend, we think on corn, probably to the upside over the next 3 years.
Certainly higher prices, even though they're not drastically higher prices in 2017, is going to be good news for farmers who've really had 2 years with very little profit, if any profit at all. Right now, are we bringing down the input costs enough that with those higher prices we're going to see some black ink on some bottom lines and farms around the state of Indiana?
Well, what we've really made some progress in the 16 and we think the 17 crop is bringing costs down. Cash rents have come down, family living expenses, and fertilizer would be the three big categories that have come down. So we think margins will stay negative for the 17 crop overall, and we're talking about a cash rent tenant with looking at total cost of production. We think they'll stay negative, and that means the pull to the downside on input cost and striving to get costs down is going to continue as we hope to add a little bit to the price. What does that mean? We'll narrow in those losses. We'll reduce them in the 17-18 crop. We really think it's going to be probably 2019 before we begin to reasonably get back to a break-even situation.
And that's one of the things you stressed in your presentation here at the farm show, was for producers to not only just look at a plan and a budget for 17, but to really take it out into 18 and 19 as well.
Well, that's right. And again, you've already alluded to that. We got into some negative margins with the 14 crop, and some farm families that haven't cash flow in 14, 15, and 16 have really seen erosion of their working capital, of their liquidity, and maybe their financial position. Now, if you start to talk about 17 and 18 also, this is where many of the bankers and lenders are saying, boy, we've got to watch those farms that are going backwards, and we need to think both 17, 18, and maybe even 19.
One of the things you also talked about was the U.S. economy, stimulating the U.S. economy, some economic growth, but that's going to mean higher interest rates as well. For producers who are looking at financing for 17 and maybe even thinking about financing for 18 and 19, how serious of a concern is an increase in interest rates going to be?
Well, that is a question that everybody in Wall Street and in agriculture both would like to know. But I think we are going to see a stimulative economy that puts more pressure on interest rates. At the same time, surprisingly, that the Fed is starting to tighten down on money supply growth and not be as accommodative. Both of those factors are going to drive interest rates. I think we'll look at around a percentage higher interest rates over the next year. And certainly could be higher than that. On the other hand, our economy is pretty well at full capacity. We're told that we're near full employment, and that says the economy can't soar too much because we don't have the capacity to do that in terms of the workforce. So overall, not only more in interest rates higher, but inflation probably will be somewhat higher as we go over the next year. And oftentimes, higher inflation is a little bit of help to things like commodities, like oil prices, grains, and metals.
Dr. Chris Hertz and Ryan Martin, thanks for joining us. Our Better Farming Report is made possible by your Indiana Soybean Alliance and the Soybean Checkoff. Check out the Hoosier Right Today newsletter. Sign up. It's free online at HoosierRightToday.com. I'm Gary Truman.
Indiana soybean checkoff dollars support you with many, many, many tools to help you get the most out of your bean. Activate your membership at IndianaBeanBenefits.com.